6 today. We have Voltage versus Mako. These two teams are in our top 3 right now, so this is looking like it's going to be a very exciting game, and I'm hoping it will be. But both teams are ready to go, so we'll be going into our first map, which will be Blizzard World. Now, as I just said, these teams are in the top 3, with Voltage being tied for first, and then Mako being in that 3rd position. Voltage being tied with Antimatter for our first place positioning. So this is looking like it's going to be a very exciting game, and I'm putting my money on that we might be seeing a map 5 in this. Both these teams have proven to be very powerful teams and very strong adversaries coming into these, well, not really adversaries, but very strong teams coming into this season. And having these both be fairly new teams for our 2nd season, I'm hoping that this is going to be a very fun and exciting game. We have some very key players like Please Forgive Me and Tetris Torb, both playing MVPs. Both these players have proven to be very effective and very powerful for their respective teams. Voltage, looking like they're going to be running the Orisa Sigma, one of the more common compositions that we've been seeing as of lately in the current ladder, with a May Bastion, a very nice bunker defense right now from we're seeing from Voltage. When it comes to the side of Mako, they're going to be running a very similar comp, except of Mercy and Baptiste. They're going to be running a Lucio Moira, a little bit more of the speed-based, getting to the point fairly quickly, with the May to stall out some of that damage and keep targets, and be able to very effectively take targets from Voltage. Running with the Sigma Orisa as well, those are still proving to be very powerful tanks coming into these ladders. With Mako coming in right away with this first push. Tetris Torb playing on the Sigma instead of playing in the DPS role. That might be a very interesting pick for Mako to be playing him in the tank role instead of the DPS, as we've seen what he can do when he's put onto that DPS role, especially if he's given that Pharah. Bastion holding up on this high ground. Very good positioning for Voltage right now. Forcing Mako to push underneath them. Mako, though, pushing directly underneath and almost forcing Voltage to push in. Already one tick taken by Mako. Voltage being very safe positioning of Katoma, taking out Defenji the Orisa from Voltage, and it looks like Voltage is going to have to give up this point fairly quickly. But scratch that. Flutterbat comes back, taking out 2 picks with the Resurrect onto Defenji. It looks like this fight is going to keep going on, but it looks like Mako might have a slight upper hand, although the Baptiste for Voltage is doing as much as he can to keep this Orisa up. He will fall, though, and it looks like Mako is going to walk away with this first point fairly fast. Voltage, though, hanging on as much as they can. The Orisa playing that shield dance very effectively, keeping her behind that shield, but it looked like it wasn't enough with that whole essence coming in, and will take out Defenji and allow this point to be captured by Mako. Very interesting push. It looks like Voltage didn't realize where the Reaper was, and the minute they lost sight of him was the minute that they had lost that fight. That Reaper was so powerful in taking out those tanks early on. But it looks like Voltage is going to have the trade-off, losing the Reaper from Mako, and that's going to be one powerful ult loss, but it's not going to stop the payload from being progressed forward ever so slowly by that one person that's on the point. I have Aaron playing this Orisa, trying to keep that health with Flutterbat playing on this Bastion, taking a high ground positioning that's going to be very useful, especially if Knife Aaron is able to get this pick. He is going to fall to the Reaper, but Reaper will fall to Please Forgive Me on the May. Please Forgive Me with a Blizzard ready to come out. This could be a hold that Voltage needs in order to really start to stabilize. With the Orisa falling, Blizzard is going to come out. It is going to be able to catch almost everybody that was caught into that. Really only catching the May, unfortunately. However, it is going to cause her death, with the Airwick leading to her own demise, as well as taking out the Lucio. Airwick really being a powerful tank right now, which is also going to take out Tetris Torb and allow Mako to start to stabilize. Very well done from Voltage in that one push. They used their ults very effectively and only really used the May ultimate, which was very strong, with Mako, though, coming up with a lot of ults on themselves, almost having all 6 ultimates coming online. This could be a very powerful fight from Mako coming into this. Big May wall to block off that Bastion wasn't really utilized to its full effectiveness. Sound Barrier coming in with an Immortality Field. Amplification Matrix comes out. It's going to cause the death of the Orisa with that Reaper. Kortorba getting 3 picks and taking out the Supercharger. Massive ultimates coming out from Mako right now. They used almost all of them, but it was a very effective push, almost leading to a team kill, with Airsoft being the last one left alive, but he will fall to the Moira's orb of damage. Such a powerful push from Mako, although they had to use almost all their ultimates. Voltage had to do the same on their end in order to keep that held, but it all proved for naught with that massive Reaper ult. And that payload will be pushed to its second checkpoint. Voltage trying to hold as much as they can in order to keep this going. Archangel taking out Please Forgive Me, taking out his respective Mei. Evil Flutterbat will take out the Lucio, with Shanzi getting the rest off on the Mei. The Mei being a very huge asset right now for Voltage, doing everything it can in order to stay alive. He will fall through the Moira at the last second though. Bastion coming in with an ultimate, that configuration take being a very powerful ult right now. Not going to take any picks, however, as it is going to wear down out of that configuration. Knife Aaron with an ultimate of his own, ready to come in. Mako trying to find their opening, but however, Flutterbat is going to take out the pick from Kurtoma, keeping them at bay for the time being. That payload's still slowly moving forward, but it's not going to be able to stay in that position for very long, and Voltage holding at this powerful of a stance. We have Airsoft though with an ultimate of his own, ready to keep Mako at ease and ready to keep them at bay. But it looks like it's not going to be used, as Mako is severely pushing forward into Voltage right now, freezing out the Sigma and leading to his death. And it looks like Voltage is going to have to be forced back, with that payload able to really start moving forward. Almost complete team kill once again without needing any ults. We have a Blizzard ult. We have a Blizzard and a Death Blossom from the side of Mako, whereas the side of Voltage, they are going to switch over to the Reaper, but they had to burn some ult charge in order to get that. Let's hope that's not going to cause the downfall of them in this first round. Supercharger comes out from Voltage, very powerful ult, really going to deal out this damage. With a Blizzard though coming in, it's going to catch the Bastion with a smash, yet another large Death Blossom, taking out yet another 2 picks, the Blizzard leading to the death of Please Forgive Me. Bastion being resurrected, but he's not going to survive with the Reaper sitting right there. Mercy being one of the last ones left on the point in order to hold this, but it looks like the Mercy plus the 2 tanks is enough to force Mako back in order to keep this fight going on. Voltage really in a tough spot right now, although with the people coming back now, the rest of their players returning back to that point, and that Reaper coming up to an ult very quickly. This could be allowing Voltage to really make that stand to keep Mako at bay. We have Gravitic Flux coming in. It's not going to catch anybody, but it left a lot of people up in the sky, with the Reaper taking out the life of the Bastion, with Knife Aaron taking out Duke. And it looks like it's 2 trades coming in with a Resurrect onto Duke. However, he's going to fall once again to the Coalescence from Mako, doing massive amounts of damage and not a lot able to be done here. Now we'll see what team Dr. Skit is on after this team fight, as it really won't matter what these teams are going to do. It looks like, though, Voltage is starting to hold and stabilize once again. Dr. Torp being very powerful. Nice OLOC hitting that Mercy, but it's not going to stop him from really doing much in order to stop that. And I'm going to move Dr. Skit and make sure he is only spectating, so excuse this for a minute, and he is only spectating his team. With Voltage being very, very powerful right now, doing everything they can in order to keep these team Mako at bay. Flutterbat doing everything they can in order to kill this Reaper, and they will take the Reaper with Airsoft, taking out the lives of both tanks. This could be the massive push that Voltage needs in order to hold this payload right where it is. Voltage really showing what they have to bring to the table, being that strong team in this fight right now. These teams not wanting to give either one any ground, and this is exactly the type of game that I wanted to see from these teams, being the one in the top 3 of our standings currently. Please Forgive Me with a Death Blossom, looking for a chance to use it, sitting on this high ground and waiting for Mako to start to push in. Mako does start to push in, and he looks like he's going to drop now. Death Blossom comes in, it's going to take out the Lucio as well as the Supercharger, but not going to catch much of anything else. A Death Blossom comes out from Mako, but it's not going to catch anybody outside of an Immortality field, and it looks like Voltage is going to have the upper hand in this fight. Archangel running onto this Hanzo, but nobody was on the payload, and the Voltage is able to stop this round without any overtime being added. Voltage really showing what they had on that defense. They were a little shaky in the beginning, but they figured out what they were doing wrong and really started to push back against Mako. Mako being a very aggressive team as from what we've seen in the past. I think that it might be a little difficult for Voltage to really counteract this aggressiveness that we've seen from Mako, as Voltage has been normally the same. And aggressive versus aggressive, it's a very hard thing to really do. But we're coming into switching sides now, and it looks like we're going to see exactly what Mako is going to do in order to fight off the offense of Voltage, a team that has proven to be one of the top contenders, being in that ranked second, tied with Antimatter, our reigning champions from our past season. Mako going to be running the Orisa Sigma once again, and basically running exactly the same composition that Voltage was running on their defense. However, Voltage, switching things up a little bit, is going to be running the Symmetra, overrunning the, they're going to be running a Symmetra Bastion instead of running something different. Which, Symmetra has proven to be a very powerful character as of late in the current ladder, and this is the reason why I personally keep saying that it's not a double shield meta. We're actually coming into a Symmetra meta, as I've seen more Symmetra being played in the current competitive season than I have double shield, and I think that's because of the anticipation that double shield was going to become such a big thing that people are afraid to run it, as Symmetra is being played more often. And this is really going to prove very effective for Voltage at this point, with Mako running this double shield. Mako taking a high ground positioning and teleporting right behind the point. Getting behind that Bastion, that Orisa shield is going to be the most important thing for Mako, for Voltage right now, in order to really set up this Bastion and get him to do the damage that they want. Instead of it being a defense, it's become an off. Instead of the offense being an offense, they become the defense, trying to defend this point against the onslaught of Mako, and that's exactly what Voltage wants to happen right now. With Katama, though, taking out the enemy Bastion. However, massive revs coming out onto that Orisa, with 2 picks taking out from Mako, and it looks like Mako is going to hold at this point. I don't know what went wrong there for Voltage. They had the picks in their favor, but it looks like the targeting just wasn't there for Voltage to really make any lasting picks, with that Mercy still being alive, and it looked like Mako was just able to take the slight upper hand in that fight. Mako setting up on this high ground. They don't want Voltage to be able to do the same thing that they did last time when they had taken that high ground. Voltage taking a very different approach now, coming around the other side where Mako pushed from, using that Lucio speed boost once again in order to possibly try and push around. They are going to teleport right behind and start the fight once again from their back lines, but it looks like Mako has that immortality field ready to come out with a freeze onto Airspike. He isn't going to fall, but he is going to get close. A blizzard comes out straight towards the point, but no one's going to get caught in it, it looks like. Instead, Voltage is going to fire back with their own Bastion, taking out Kurtama and allowing Voltage to really cap this point, keeping Mako at bay for long enough for that point to be captured. Although Mako coming back with their own fight of Gravitic Flux forced out, it's going to be wasted, it looks like. However, Airspike will take life of Tekris Torb, and Voltage will continue to move this payload forward as far as they can. Will they be able to cap this first point? I'm still not sure. Or take this first map. I'm sorry. They have taken the first point, but will they be able to take this first map? I still think that Mako might have a ever so slight advantage, but these teams are both really high, and it could really go either way, honestly. Mako looking very shaky on this defense right now. Voltage being a very offensive team right now, really pushing into that Bastion and stopping him from really getting a chance to set up, using their Bastion in order to just stop everything. Symmetra coming out into the flank is going to start dealing some damage onto the Mei, forcing out that freeze very early on, having a shield come up. She is going to use that shield, coming out right away with a Gravitic Flux, going to catch a few people, but a Night Sound Barrier is going to help everybody stay alive. Bastion Ultimate coming out. He is going to be taken out very fast, though, from the enemy Bastion of Evil Flutterbat, and it looks like the Symmetra will be frozen, but booped away. The Mei will be booped away, and keeping the Symmetra alive. Symmetra trying to do what she can to take out this burst, take out as many people as they want. I am losing my words, so much is going on in that fight. And Voltage takes that second checkpoint with over 4.5 minutes on that time bank. Very powerful push, not really held up at all as they use those ultimates to their full effectiveness and definitely stopped Mako from really doing much of anything in order to counter push them. Now that this Bastion is set up, this is going to be very hard for Voltage to, or very easy for Voltage to keep this moving as long as they keep this Bastion alive. However, the Hanzo of Kishama is going to take down Please Forgive Me with a nice resurrect onto them. Tech Restored though, taking down Shanzi, and it looks like Mako might be able to start to stabilize a little bit. But there are 2 picks still coming out from the side of Voltage, and it looks like Mako is going to be forced back yet again, even though they lost their Bastion. Voltage being very powerful and stopping this Mei altogether. Voltage not being halted at all on this offense right now, and they might be able to sweep it all the way through. Voltage definitely realizing the mistakes they had made early on into this fight, and really starting to capitalize off the slight mistakes that Mako is using. Mako, though, coming back and taking out 2 picks of their own, with one being resurrected. Bastion Ultimate coming out from Evil Flutterbat. Will it's going to catch anybody? It doesn't look like it's going to be used to its effectiveness. He will be forced off the high ground by that Hanzo, but being healed is going to help him stay alive. Mako starting to actually stabilize just a little bit, taking out that Bastion, and it looks like they're all forcing Voltage back as far as they can. Voltage, under the signs of a coalescence, isn't able to push in, and Mako doesn't want to push back this little pillar right now. Trying to stay as far and as close to that as they can, as close to this major turn as possible to slowly have a better chance and more defensive options. Symmetra using her ultimate to start to get in and start this push once again, coming in and dealing that damage to that shield. Turrets coming out with a supercharger coming in from Mako. And a Gravitic Flux is going to cause massive amounts of damage and lead to WP2's life being taken, with Archangel though taking down Airspike. He is going to fall though very quickly to this Symmetron, and Voltage is able to take first map of Blizzard World. Both these teams being very powerful, but it looks like Voltage was barely held up on their offense. Mako really didn't know what to do against the aggression and the well-organized teamwork of Voltage going into that map. A nice play of the game though from Kichama, doing everything they can and making sure that payload kept moving as far as they were able to get it. Our next map is going to be Nepal, which is one of those maps that you see so many different things being run on. I'm curious to see what these teams are going to be doing in these maps right now. Now, there is a 5-minute timer from when I messaged the captains, or the current acting captains, in between maps. So, the next map will start at 4:56. Whether these teams are ready or not, but it looks like Mako is going to have some tough time, though, pushing up or defending against Voltage, meaning that if Mako does take that early point, then Voltage might have a slight advantage going into this map, but both teams are ready to go, so we'll go into map 2, which will be Nepal. Now, I'm still hoping, though, with how these teams are definitely playing and how much we've seen from these teams and what they can do, I'm definitely hoping that we will see a map 5 come out of this, which will be Lijiang Tower.
Initiating match.
No swaps coming up from either team, and it looks like Voltage definitely had a slight upper hand, especially on that offense. Their aggression and teamwork was so effective in that first push that it just kept the ball rolling for them. Mako had no real answer outside of really using that Mei, but that Mei was not worried about Voltage. They were targeting their opponents effectively and making sure that Mei wasn't used to her most potential. Mako, on the other hand, did have a very strong start, taking that first point very fast, However, I don't think they're going to have much of a chance against Voltage coming into Nepal, a map that specializes in the offense as well as the defense. Because once you cap that point, you need to be able to defend it as best as you can. It looks like from Voltage, we're going to see a very similar comp that they just ran, using the Moira Lucio once again, as well as the double shield that we've been seeing. Whereas from Mako, because we're going to see the classic Orisa Roadhog style that we normally see on this map for Nepal. Voltage making an early positioning onto this point, already in a defensive position, with that Bastion laying in as much damage as they can, and might cause Mako to have to make some choices very early on. Bastion taking out the Immortality Field. It's not going to save the life of Please Forgive Me, though, as that Symmetra is going to fall very fast. Roadhog moving around the backside, looking for his chance to really get in and start harassing this Bastion, it looks like. Nice hook onto the Bastion, and it will cause his death, as well as allowing Tekkrastorm to get away with his life just for the time being. And the life of the Orisa as well, and it looks like Voltage might be forced off this point just for the time being, with Mako being a very powerful offense. Roadhog definitely proving to be a very powerful tank still. Tekkrastorm, one of our stronger players in this league, I have to say. Lucio working his way back. I don't know if he's going to be able to escape the onslaught of this Roadhog, though. Voltage coming in with this Lucio. This Lucio definitely moving around the point very effectively. Voltage starting to push back and make their counter against the fight of Mako right now. Nice pull onto the up, and that will cause the death of the Bastion, with a Sigma being trapped and then taken out. And it looks like Mako is going to continue to hold this point with such fierce ferocity, only using one ultimate in that. Voltage unable to get their ults as damage isn't able to be done, and Mako really changing up and making the swaps they had to, and definitely showing what they can do in these fights and in these matches. Showing the same aggression and matching the damage of Voltage 1 for 1, and then coming back with even more. Airspec, though, taking out the Ashe and the Ana. That's going to take away their ranged healers and their ranged damage, and that's forcing Mako to move towards the back into this covered area. Airspec will be pulled off the edge, with Shanzi, though, being pushed off by a whole hog, and that might end Voltage's push, even though they had a good start with taking out those two that were very important for them to take out. Amplification Matrix will be popped through that doorway, but it's not going to cause the death of anybody. Instead, Evil Flutterbat is going to come back and take out Tekkrastorm, with Bob, though, coming in onto the point to try and stop the advance of Voltage, but it's not going to matter, as Bob will be taken out by Flutterbat. Voltage needing to use quite a few ults, but they were able to hold this and finally switch this point over in their favor, with Mako leaving with 78% on their capture point, on the capture percentage. Flutterbat coming up with an ult very fast, almost having this Deadeye, which can be used to zone out Mako, However, Voltage is still having to hold this point for the time being. Roadhog once again moving around that back line, going with this Mei in order to try and make these massive ultimates come out. They're looking like they're going to try and use this Blizzard in order to start this push forward. The Blizzard's going to come out straight into the middle of Voltage with a wall, going to stop this Lucio and this Orisa from breaking out of that Blizzard. Orisa, though, having that fortify allows her to stay alive in that point right now. WP doing everything it can with that Baptiste, keeping people up, with Tekkrastorm once again taking out another 2 picks, having yet another whole hog in his possession. Another great hook from Tekkrastorm. Whole hog coming out, looking like it wants to get the supercharger, and then we'll take out the Fenji. And then Hope might try to have pushed off that Hammond, but will not succeed. Overtime starting to quickly tick down. Voltage starting to come back in, getting a nice pick onto Archangel from that McCree. McCree with that Deadeye in this possession, going to use it. Almost caught that Baptiste, but was not able to complete the kill. Instead, that kill was going to go to Airspec the Hammond. Hammond really being that powerful force that Voltage needed to keep this point into their favor and keep that ball rolling in order so they can recapture this point. the countering that Voltage is doing right now in order to keep people at bay. But Tetris Torb coming back with taking out Evil Flutterbat, and it looks like Voltage is going to start moving back towards the point, not wanting to give Mako much space, with Airstrick falling to Tetris Torb once again. This Roadhog being such a force for Mako right now, taking yet another hook onto that Symmetra. However, WP will end up being taken out by, please forgive me, the Symmetra. That is definitely proving to be one of the hugest onslaughts that Mako has ever had to come across. Dealing so much damage, not able to be really countered against. 94% on the capture percentage, and it looks like this first point is going to go to the way of Voltage. Very well done from both these teams, 199%. This is the type of game that I wanted to see from our two teams that are in the top 3 currently. Our second map will be Nepal Shrine, a map that you see a lot more of the Pharah Widow compositions, as well as you see some of the Hammond and the Lucio. I'm curious to see if we're going to see any of the Pharah. Instead, we're not going to, it doesn't look like we're going to see the Pharah. Instead, we're going to see Voltage go into more of a dive composition. Using that Symmetra teleporter is going to allow them to really push on to this point without having used their abilities to dive forward. We also, however, from the side of Mako, they're going to be running more of a close range defense offense, meaning that it might work in the favor of Voltage or of Mako. Instead, Voltage, though, looking like they're going to switch off of the dive competition. Even Flutterbat taking the first pick of the fight, with the massive picks going into the favor of Voltage very early on, not really giving much room to Mako to stop this fight from going into the favor of Voltage. Mako, what? I don't know what happened to Mako there between those 2 points. Something just didn't click for them, and they immediately are just losing massive players. However, nobody's on the point, meaning that Mako could easily backcap this right now, as the point is open. Mako switching over to the Pharah. We are going to see the Pharah come out from one of these teams, and that might be the major game-changing swap that is needed from these teams right now. Pharah being spotted early on. They do have a Voltage does have a soldier in order to counteract the force of that Pharah. Being on this backside is going to be able to pump in a lot of damage without really being in much danger. Shatter comes out from the side of Mako. It looks like it caught quite a few people, but I don't think it actually did. But Mako is still using it to its full utilization and forcing Voltage off that point as best as they can. Evil Flutterbat using that Active Visor is going to take out the Pharah Mercy, and that might stop Mako from really pushing in and keeping this point into the possession of Voltage. Voltage holding Mako at bay, killing Knife Aaron with the Lucio. Lucio will fall, though, to the Pharah from Mako, and Mako having some ultimates of their own up and ready. Tetris Torb having a Graviton Surge. That could stop Voltage from really being able to hold anything up, but with that Lucio Cell Mirror coming online very shortly, this could stop any use of that Graviton Surge. The Graditic Flux from Voltage will also be a very powerful ultimate ability. Grab coming out from the side of Mako. It's not going to catch, it's going to catch quite a few people, but no utilization is going to come out of it, with only 2 picks falling from that. A wasted Earth Shatter that was cancelled out from Voltage, thanks to the Fenji killing Knife Aaron, and it looks like Voltage going to take Mach 2 as well. Mako really needs to figure out, Mako is going to definitely have to figure out what they're doing wrong and counteract this offense that Voltage has. Early on, it definitely seems like early on, it definitely always goes into the favor of, almost always goes into the favor of, Mako. But when it comes to the second fight, Voltage seems like they always have a slight upper hand, as they're just able to counter the aggression that Mako brings. Our next map will be going to Temple of Anubis. One of those maps that you see a lot more of the Bastion being played and even more of the Junkrat than you do see of a Symmetra. It's going to be interesting if either of these teams is going to be playing either of those two characters. We do have somebody leave from Mako. Let's see if who's going to be subbed in. Voltage definitely showing what they can do, and they definitely have shown that they have earned that place at being tied for first in the current standings. And it looks like Mako is going to put an Egan. Definitely an interesting pick, and that might prove to be very effective for Mako right now in order to keep this fight going and to keep this match going. Hopefully, Mako will be able to make a comeback so we can see that map 5. Although, from what I've seen from Voltage so far, I do think Voltage may walk away with the win, especially in those early fights. First trio, we are going to be swapped out for Dr. Skit. An interesting pick from Mako. But it might prove to be just what they need in order to really push in and make this map theirs. Now, if Voltage does take this map, they will walk away with the win in the match. However, it's all about map score. Switching up some roles as well. Takara is going to be switching with Katarma. Takara is going onto that DPS role that we've seen him on more often than we have seen him on the tank. And that could be exactly what Mako needs. They need the offense that Tekris brings, and the force that he has on this DPS role is what's really might do it for Mako to walk away with the win on Temple of Anubis. Still waiting to see, though, if these teams are ready to fight for this third map of our series. We also have we have another game, though, coming out today at 7 o'clock, which will be Violent Tendencies versus Feeding Frenzy. Two teams that we haven't seen too much on the streams, unfortunately, as times have been an issue. But Violent Tendencies has proven to be a very powerful defensive team. Feeding Frenzy, one that we haven't seen a lot this season, and I believe they are under new management as they almost imploded recently. But they are back, and it looks like they're stronger than ever, and I'm hoping to have another really exciting game coming out at 7 o'clock. Voltage not swapping anything up yet again. Defenji definitely being a very powerful main tank for them right now. I wonder what Voltage is going to do. Running on that defense first can be a plus, as you can see exactly what the offense is going to be, and you just have to push a little bit harder than what the other team had to do. Voltage running the same composition that they've been running, it looks like. Instead, they're going to put back to the May Bastion, the same composition they had ran earlier on Blizzard World. And coming out from Mako, though, they're going to be having Tekris Torb on the Symmetra this time, with Kniferon playing on the Reinhardt, a different version of the double shield, but also still very powerful for Mako right now. Tekris Torb is definitely going to be one to watch in this early fight on this Symmetra right now. But please forgive me, playing on the May. It would be interesting, though, I do feel like we might see the Sim v Sim battle coming from Tekriz and Please Forgive Me. Mako looking like they're going to start pushing around the backside of this point, teleporting right in and going underneath the bridge, making it look like they were pushing in underneath or from the backside, but instead they decided to go underneath. Defenji being taken down by Knife-Aron, but Tekriz turret taking out Please Forgive Me. Airspike will take the life of Tekriz though, when the Knights resurrect onto Please Forgive Me, and it looks like Flutterbat is going to keep that Bastion point. Keep this point as Bastion doing a massive amounts of damage and taking down yet another pick, eliminating the Lucio from that point. One tick taken though, it looked like, from Mako. Very effective push. If they could do that again, they could walk away with that first point fairly easily. However, I don't think Flutterbat is going to allow Mako to do that anymore. Setting up in a different positioning on this bridge. Mako looking like they're going to take a different approach. Going to start pushing around this backside. Sorry about that. When Mako's pushing on this backside, that teleporter is going to be destroyed and stopping Mako from really pushing in. Voltage definitely holding a strong defense into Mako right now. Not giving them much room. Mako starting to push forward. Charge coming out from that Reinhardt, not going to be stopped though. Zekris Torb taking out the Duke with a turret. And Shield is going to come out, although her life will be taken. It looks like Mako is walking away with the win so far in this fight. Massive shatter will stop the Bastion from advancing forward and dealing the damage that needs to be done. And it looks like Voltage has all but lost this point, losing everybody left that was there. And Mako will be able to cap this first point. Mako starting to really come back and prove why they are in that third position right now. Bastion trying to get that high ground, he's not going to be able to, and might have to just say, cut your losses, and start setting up straight on the point instead of trying to be on that high ground advantage. Mako, though, pushing in straight from that high ground where the Bastion was coming up, it might be a good best thing that he wasn't able to get up there. Flutterbat, though, will be taken out from the Symmetra. Please forgive me. Coming in, though, with an ultimate of their own. Will freeze the Symmetra and cause the death of almost everybody on Voltage, leading to just about a team kill, with only the Mei being left alive, as she was coming back from spawn. Voltage, using one ult, cleared that point completely, it looked like. Although it doesn't look like they actually used one ult, instead it looked like they had to use 4 ultimates. But they still have a Gravitic Flux and a Configuration Tank from the Bastion, in order to keep this fight in this game going in their favor. Sigma, with this Gravitic Flux, might be exactly what is needed from Voltage to keep this fight going in their favor. Mako trying to come around the backside. Gravitic Flux coming out from Voltage. It is going to cause the death of the Lucio, but with a Blizzard coming out onto the point, it's going to catch quite a few people and lead to their demise in Mako's favor. Reinhardt being frozen, he's not going to give up very easily. He's going to get that health back, teleport up, and he's going to start pushing in onto this point. Mako running with Dr. Skip, proving to be a very effective use of that Moira ultimate. Another Gravitic Flux coming out from the side of Mako, killing the Mercy of Shanzi, and it looks like Mako is going to be able to take this point. Baptiste coming in from Voltage, but it didn't look like it was enough, as Mako was able to use that shatter to zone out that point and capture that second point. Just under 3 minutes for them in a third round if it goes to that. However, from what we've seen from Voltage so far, I think they might be able to cap this just as fast, if not faster, that Mako just did. Voltage might swap some roles in the next round, or in the next map. However, I don't know. If they lose this point, then they might be swapping up some roles, and we might still be going to a map 5. However, Voltage still looking very strong in these fights, not really giving Mako much room. It was just a combination of ults that stopped Voltage from really being able to hold that point. Mako, though, using those ults to their full use, will did allow them to capture that point fairly quickly in their favor. These teams being very, very strong. Tucker's Torb going on to the Pharah, the character that we've seen a lot from him.
We're on my home turf now.
Running that default skin. We see quite a few players starting to run these default skins over running like a legendary or one of their favorite skins. Default definitely has its own advantages, as it's the way that you first learn to pick up with that character. Looks like Mako is going to be holding a Pharah Bastion hold, using this Pharah in the sky to deal massive amounts of damage from above those shields, where the Bastion is just able to grind out those shields from Voltage. Voltage running a double shield with a Symmetra, still being very powerful. Tekra still playing on this Pharah. Mako walking away with a lot of these fights right now. Early on into these push, we've seen this quite a bit though from them. And I think Mako or Voltage might be able to walk away with the win still in these fights. However, it doesn't look like Mako gave them much choice, as they look like they might be swapping off some characters. It doesn't look like it. Instead, it looks like they're going to be running the same lineup that they were doing. They just might have to change their approach slightly. Instead, PvP is coming out on the opposite side of this. Coming out on the opposite side of this, where the doorway is. Bastion still laying in massive amounts of damage. It doesn't look like Voltage isn't able to do much. Back cap starting, and it forces that Bastion to change his positioning, but it's going to stop Voltage from really doing much of anything, even though he's being battered around. Voltage not really looking like they're able to push in. Something's changed in their dynamic right now. And it could just be the amount of damage that Egon and Tekras are able to pump out with this Bastion Pharah. Looking very similar to how things went on the last map for Nepal, going into that first point, and Nepal Shrine. Or not Nepal Shrine, Nepal Sanctum. Voltage moving around this backside, going to try and get around the point. And behind those shields, or the repositioning of those shields, is going to be what Mako does, and still holding on to this bridge and not going to give any room for Voltage to really get in there. However, with Tekra Store falling, this could be Voltage's opportunity to start pushing in. Shanzi using this Moira Coalescence to start pumping out damage, taking out. Immortality Field is going to come out with Egon using this configuration to try and deal the damage. He is going to fall though to Air Swick the Sigma, and it looks like Voltage is able to capture this point from Mako. With 5 people on the point, Mako is definitely going to give this up to Voltage and start counting onto that second point right now. Volterbat coming in with the soldier right now, looking for the positioning, trying to get behind the enemy team right now. Airswick moving around the backside, very close to a gravitic flux. Voltage coming around on the back, moving around the point, using a soldier to keep people distracted, it looks like. Tekris Torb still with this Pharah barrage. Looks like they're going to pop it here. They are going to take 2 picks, taking out both the tanks. Massive barrage coming out from Tekris Torb, and he escapes with his life as well. Reaper falling to the Symmetra turret, and it looks like Voltage is going to be forced all the way back to their spawn for the most part. Moira staying by these stairs. Slitterbat will be taken down. It doesn't look like Voltage is going to be able to push in without their soldiers. They really don't have much to counteract this Pharah right now. Sigma for the side of Mako has this gravitic flux, which is going to be a very massive ultimate if they can use it in the right time. You see it falling to that Symmetra turret. Sim turrets being one of the most aggravating parts of Symmetra right now. Able to just pump in so much damage, with the Airstick falling yet again. Voltage trying to make some head ground, but they're not going to last very long. And it looks like Voltage though, Airstick has his own ultimate as well. But it doesn't look like Voltage is going to have much opportunities to really start to push in. Evil Flutterbat with a tactical visor ready to come out. Airstick pops his ultimate, will take out WP2, but an Immortality Field is going to keep people alive. Kadama going to use his Gravitic Flux, but he is going to fall. Flutterbat with a tactical visor, looking for their opportunity to use this. A rocket barrage gonna come in. Tekra's Torp will fall though to the soldier. And it looks like the next person that he was looking for was Katrama, but he was going to fall. And it looks like Mako's still going to be able to hold this point for the time being. Well, please forgive me, with a Reaper ultimate. And right next to this point, going to do what he can in order to really pump in and get this damage done so he can keep this point contested in the favor of Voltage. Not wanting to give it up. It is going to use that ultimate, but he will fall without taking out the Mercy beforehand. Tactical Visor coming out from the soldier, looking to try and get Tekra's Torp and keep him contested. Using that entire soldier ultimate to try and contest this Pharah from Tekra's Torp, but the Pharah is doing the work it needs to do. And taking out so many people from Voltage, just dealing massive amounts of damage and keeping them all at bay. Hammond coming in from Voltage, trying to keep the contest going, but with only just under 2 minutes, I don't think Voltage is going to be able to walk away with this point. Almost a minute and a half left on the time bank for Voltage right now. Turrets coming straight up right in front of that main doorway. There's only 2 ways now that Voltage is really going to be able to push forward if those turrets are able to deal the damage. Tekra's coming up yet again on another Pharah ultimate, having yet another barrage. Looking like he's going to try and use it here, possibly. Contested by Evil Flutterbat. Pharah wanting to try and get in there and stop Voltage from really making any form of advance forward. Duke using this Lucio, still playing on him, trying to use that. Having that sound barrier is going to keep Mako at bay, but it's not going to be enough to stop from a damage boosted Pharah ultimate. However, with that Mercy being taken out, that could be Voltage's chance to start moving this forward as they're up by 1 pick. That respawn coming out very quickly. Voltage needs to push the point now. Shield comes out from Symmetra with a Pharah barrage coming in from Tekra's Torp, doing the damage that he needs to do and forcing Voltage away for the time being. Coalescence though coming out from Voltage once again. Hammond Mines coming out straight onto the point, but that was Mako's, not Voltage's, and it looks like Voltage is going to end up being forced off this point yet again with only about 10 seconds left on the time ring. This is Voltage's last chance, and I think Mako has successfully walked away with this point. 5 seconds left. Hammond trying to get to the point with only 1 second remaining. Is he going to be able to touch it? It doesn't look like he is, and Mako will take Temple of Anubis. Mako still in this game and can still walk away with a win in this match so far. I'm still thinking that we might see a map 5 come out of this, and that would be very fun, as we haven't seen many teams be able to go to that map 5 in this season. Mako definitely showing and improving on the mistakes that they had made earlier. Our next map will be going to Havana, our payload map of this map set. Now, this is the last time we'll be seeing this map set. This is the last week we'll be seeing this map set for the season, as we will be going to a new map set next week with some more of the favorite maps, I want to say, from the community. But our next map set, I believe, will be... Both teams are ready to go, so I will set the map up, but I will tell you guys our next map set in just a moment. For next week, our map sets will be Kings Row, Busan, Hanamura, Watchpoint, Gibraltar, with Oasis being our tiebreaker. Kings Row definitely being one of the more favorite maps of the community, and definitely a really fun map to play on. Voltage, though, having a 2-1 so far against Mako. Mako still in this fight. If they can take Havana, we will be going to Lijiang Tower for our tiebreaker map, which I would not be opposed to seeing that. And once again, we do have another game at 7 o'clock, and it looks like this game is going by fairly quickly, really only taking an hour so far. So, but these teams are definitely proving to be very, very powerful teams. I think both these teams are very likely of walking away with being our champions of Season 2, which I wouldn't mind seeing, as Antimatter is still a very powerful team, but it's going to be whichever team can really come over the attack that Antimatter brings. Antimatter, I think, had an actual bye week, as I think their opposing team forfeited their match, as they were just not able to get enough players this week. Mako, looking like they're going to be running with the Sombra Bastion, a different composition. Nope, Sakura is actually going to be switching off to the Pharah. However, when it comes to the side of Mako, it looks like both teams are actually running about the same exact composition. Almost the same, actually is the same exact composition. Very offensively based, with Evil Flutterbat being the first one to fall to Tekra's Torb's Pharah fight coming out right now from Please Forgive Me and Tekris. Tekris, though, looking like he is winning so far, with that each one having a Mercy in their side. Sigma doing everything he can in order to help his Pharah, with Egan being a massive force on this Bastion so far, just dealing so much damage and keeping Voltage at bay. Pick still flying in the favor of Mako so far, and I think Voltage might have a run for their money now. After taking those first two maps, it's possible we might be seeing a reverse sweep coming out from Mako. Voltage being forced all the way back into the main room, and it looks like it's going to be an easy capture for this first checkpoint for Mako so far. And Mako will be able to cap that first checkpoint, adding 5 minutes to their time bank. Tekris Torb taking out massive picks once again with yet another barrage. And this is why I was surprised to see Tekris Torb on that tank early on. He's definitely proven to be much more effective when playing on the Pharah than he has been proving to be on the tank role. It looks like the Flutterbat doing massive amounts of damage on this Bastion, making massive picks, trying to pump out as much damage as they can, but with that Bastion being set up, it looks like Mako still might have the upper hand. Please forgive me, coming against that Reaper, it is going to be what allows them to start moving forward and stopping this payload from advancing. Please forgive me, though, will fall, with Egan being a very powerful Bastion, just being able to pump out more damage than Voltage right now. That payload quickly moving towards that second checkpoint, only really taking them about a minute to get it this far. Bastion ultimate coming out from Egan, trying to get the picks that it needed, but instead is going to be using that for most of the time to heal, taking out only the supercharger, but it doesn't look like it's going to stop Mako from really moving forward and advancing this payload even further towards that second checkpoint. With a nice team kill, taking it back to up to 5 minutes in their time bank. Tekris Torb still holding on to that rocket barrage. Voltage needs to figure out what they're doing wrong and how to come against this massive defense. Honestly, what it has to be done now is they need to target Tekris Torb and get him out of position and make sure that they are keeping him contested with this Bastion, or even using this Hanzo that still might be very effective with Flutterbat playing on that Hanzo. They can get the game of wall hacks, being able to see through those walls with the Sonic Arrow, as well as using this Reaper to really assault these tanks. Fenji switching off to the Roadhog. It's a little bit of a swap coming in from Voltage. Mako still hanging on with the same combinations they've been running. Resurrect onto Air Swick. They did lose an Immortality Field, but allowed him Mercy to get that res off. Please forgive me, that will fall. Amplification Matrix coming out straight in front of the point, but it's not going to be utilized, as Tekris Torb still being a massive force onto this Pharah, taking out pick after pick. Both Flutterbat and Duke will fall to this Pharah with him looking for the kill on the Orisa now as well. Airswick will take the Orisa, but Tekris Torb will take down Airswick. Reaper coming in from the side of Voltage, as Please Forgive Me tries to push forward, coming up with a Death Blossom very soon, trying to contest this Pharah. Tekris Torb still being very, very powerful on that Pharah. Gravitic Flux on the side of Mako going to come out. It looks like it's gonna almost caught a lot of people. With a Rocket Barrage coming in, it's going to be captured up by the Immortality Field with a Death Blossom trying to take out the picks. Nobody's going to fall to that. Instead, though, Kniferon is going to fall to Airswick, with Airswick taking out picks of very many picks, looking for the kill on that Mercy. Will take life. And a slight stagger onto that Mercy is going to run out the time bank just a little bit, but with 3 minutes still on the clock, I do think Mako has a very good likelihood of being able to capture that last checkpoint right now. Mako really showing exactly what they bring to the table coming into this fight. Still running the same combination. They're going to be switching off to the Widow and the Mei. Mei going to be very useful in locking out some of these picks with this Widowmaker, looking for the quick picks and looking to try and take out some different slices. Please forgive me, he's going to switch off to the Widow of his own after they saw that the Widow was there. WP coming in and taking out the Orisa, and it looks like the whole hog is going to come out from Defenji, needing to heal up. That whole hog wasn't really able to gain too much. Hooks down the Orisa, but he is going to fall to Kachama, and it looks like Mako is going to push this payload to that last checkpoint fairly easily. Hammond coming in to contest at just the last second. He's going to be stunned for just briefly. Gravitic Flux coming in is going to catch the Mercy and will lead to her death. Hammond has nothing to help him now. McCree using the Deadeye is going to be completely blocked out and unable to do anything. I would have used that Deadeye immediately as those walls came out so I could start moving. With this Blizzard coming in, freezing the Hammond and stopping that contest, and the payload will move forward, being contested once again by the Mercy, but will move forward, and that third checkpoint will be captured by Mako. Sombra not necessarily being needed, but it was definitely used in order to stop those staggers from really coming in from Voltage, and in case they needed that EMP, they had it available to them. Because Sombra is able to get that EMP fairly quickly. If that fight dragged on too long, Sombra could have ended that fight with a massive EMP directly onto the payload. So I think Mako definitely had that fight in the bags right for them, just with that slip onto that Sombra. However, Mako, even though they are proving to be very powerful in these last two maps, Voltage still has a chance to walk away with the victory overall. If Voltage is able to win this map, the match will be over. However, I do think Mako still might be able to take Havana when it comes to Li Jiang. I think the advantage is still going to be in favor of Voltage. However, it can go either way, as both these teams are really proving to be very, very powerful. Evil Flutterbat moving onto the Soldier, trying to contest Tucker's Torb, I believe, as that is probably what caused them the most issues, was this uncontested Pharah just laying in so much damage, and way too much for the healers of Voltage to counteract. Voltage looking like they're going to be running a Doomfist Zenyatta. We haven't seen too much Zenyatta coming out from these games, however, he still is very useful in targeting certain people. Using that Orb of Discord can pinpoint specific targets. However, two picks are going to quickly fall, both the Zenyatta and the Soldier, to Tekris Torb and Egan. These DPS being such a strong duo for the side of Mako right now, and it looks like Mako is going to hold them directly at their spawn, not giving that payload any chance to move forward. Tekris Torb being on the backside, trying to counteract that Soldier, going to target Evil Flutterbat down. Tekris still being a very powerful Pharah right now, and keeping this fight in the favor of Voltage, or in the favor of Mako. I keep mixing up these teams. However, Voltage switching off to the Brigitte, trying to change something up. Defenji will take out the Pharah, and possibly be able to get this payload moving for them, as without Tekris Torb, it looks like Mako is starting to move backwards ever so slightly, using that Sigma ability to keep them at bay ever so slightly. Immortality coming out onto the point. Sigma moving that shield around at just the right time to counteract the movement of Voltage and keep the Orisa shield barrier as high as they possibly can in terms of its health. Gravitic Flux coming in, he will be hooked, but it's not going to stop the Flux from dealing the damage that it needs to deal with. Egan taking out Please Forgive Me. Tekris Tor with yet another Rocket Barrage. And really assaulting on this Roadhog right now. Mako really being a powerful force in holding this payload, holding Voltage right at their spawn. Voltage is not able to counteract this aggressiveness from Mako right now, and Voltage is kind of stuck. Coalescence on the side of Voltage, looking like it might be their chance to come out of this fight with Defenji running on this whole hog. It looks like Voltage trying to figure out what they need to do, discussing what they need to target. Switching over to the Please Forgive Me, still running this Bastion. I think what they need to do is they need to target down this aura, and then really push heavily onto that Bastion. A Supercharger comes up from the side of Mako with a Rocket Barrage as well, taking out multiple lives and keeping this fight in favor of Mako so far. And with only less than a minute and a half left on this point, this payload has barely moved. In fact, this fight had been going on so long that the payload ended up moving back to its original starting position. Voltage being kind of stuck right at their spawn. Mako holding on to that spawn very strong. Killing that Mercy, though, is going to be a huge pick. This is Voltage's chance to start moving forward, as they don't have the Resurrect now in their favor. Whole Hawk coming out from the side of Voltage, trying to deal the damage. Immortality is going to come out to keep everybody alive. They need to take out that Immortality now if they want to walk away with taking out a few picks and getting this payload starting to move forward. Coalesce is coming out from the side of Voltage, trying to take out that Bastion. It will take his life and allow this payload to start definitely moving forward, with only the Orisa and the Baptiste keeping this point contested so far. Tekris Tor, though, coming back in and still laying in the damage. It looks like Mako's all but given up on holding the payload there and allowing this payload to move forward. They're going to start holding on this corner choke, it looks like, which I don't blame them for doing, as they were able to hold them for so long to just almost into overtime. It looks like they are going to force it into overtime for that first checkpoint from Voltage. Not looking good for them in this map, and they're going to start setting up on this corner choke, taking up the high ground and moving behind them. Voltage, though, knows where they are and is going to start laying in the damage. Egan trying to get that Bastion into place, but with that Bastion set up on the payload, it's going to be very difficult for Mako to start setting up that Bastion of their own. Supercharger coming out with a Gravitic Flux coming in from the side of Mako. However, Voltage fires back, taking out picks of their own, with the Whole Hog taking out Katama, and it looks like this payload will finally be captured by Voltage with only 2.5 minutes added to the time bank. They kept that into overtime with that Bastion falling. They did waste that ultimate, but it could be because he's trying to stop off the Bastion. We will find out in just a second, but it looks like they are going to stick. Mako is going to stick with the Bastion and running about the same composition that they have been running. However, I do think that Voltage now has started the ball rolling, and they might be able to capture this last checkpoint, but it's going to be very difficult, as the Bastion now has the ability to set up. It's going to be very difficult for Mako with this Bastion set up on the payload, constantly moving. He's not going to have much opportunity to really set up, as that shields are going to be shredded very fast. Sniper on, though, going to take out Please Forgive Me, as well as taking out the Immortality field. Tekris Tor using yet another Rocket Barrage, going to deal massive amounts of damage, but with Katama walking away with the kill of the Orisa. Voltage looking like they're being forced completely back, and it looks like Mako is able to stabilize for the time being. Penji trying to charge up the whole hog, it looks like. He is going to fall, and that's going to be a massive stagger for the side of Voltage. Now they don't have that Roadhog, and they're going to have to stay hidden right now. A minute left on the clock for Voltage. I don't know if they're going to be able to capture that second checkpoint. Now Defenji is coming back, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do and how they want to push. It looks like they're going to move around this upside. Mercy, though, sitting on that side. Definitely looks like Mako now knows exactly where they're trying to push from. Supercharger comes out with a Blizzard coming in, It looks like it was going to be a massive, but instead it went low and wasn't able to catch anybody. However, the Bastion ultimate from Please Forgive Me is going to be used to its effectiveness, taking out 2 picks, taking both Tekriz and Kachama going to die to that Bastion ultimate. And I do think Voltage now is going to be able to push this to the second checkpoint, but they only have less than 30 seconds to do so. One strong hold from Mako, and this map is over. Roadhog using that whole hold to keep all of Mako at bay and leading to the death of the Mercy. A massive stagger from Voltage, with that Mei wall coming in, stopping that Reaper from really coming in. Arisa dropping and using that supercharger to contest this point. Tekriz Torb going to be taking out Please Forgive Me with this Reaper. Coming up very fast onto this ultimate. And it looks like Mako is going to be able to hold this payload at right where it sits and walk away with Havana in their place. The score is now tied 2-2, and we will be going to our map 5, Lijiang Tower. This fight could really go either way. Very strong games from both of these teams right now. This really could go either way. However, from what we've seen from Mako so far, I do think they might have a ever so slight advantage now, showing that massive offense onto that point and keeping Voltage at bay. Lijiang Tower will be our map, our 5th and final map of this series. Let's see if these teams are going to make any swaps. I don't think so. So let's see if they are ready to go. Mako being very powerful and gunning for that second place slot. Both teams are ready to go, and let's go into our 5th map, Lijiang Tower. This game has been very good so far, and really showing what these teams bring to the table. I'm hoping whoever wins this definitely is going to earn their position in their standing so far. Our first one is going to be Lijiang Gardens, a map that you can oftentimes see a Hammond being able to run around that middle point, especially when things go into a contest mode. And using that Hammond swinging around the center of that point, it's going to be very hard to hit him with that wall being directly in the middle of that point. The other 2 maps that we possibly will see would be Night Market and then Control Center. Lijiang Garden is one of those maps that can be very easy to hold the enemy team on these bridge right at their spawn. This is also another map that you see a lot of the times. You see the Pharah, as we're going to see from Tekriz Torb once again, being a very huge asset on that Pharah. Egan and Please Forgive Me both running on that Symmetric, hoping to try and get on that point, with Defenji looking like he's going to be running on the Hammond. Evil Flutterbat switching off to that Soldier, possibly to try and contest that Pharah continuously, which is definitely what's going to be needed. Both teams running a Lucio, as Lucio is seen quite often, especially on this map. Coming into our map 5, our last map of the series, Hammond immediately going straight for point, looking to get the positioning and see what Mako is running. They know they have the Pharah now, with the Symmetra immediately setting up onto that point. However, Voltage being a huge force, already taking this point with a massive force, 4 picks in less than a minute. And a team kill right off the bat for Voltage, just immediate targets and not giving that Pharah any room to get in there, with those Symmetra turrets doing so much damage for Voltage so far. Flutterbat being dealt severely with damage from that Pharah. Pharah really pumping in and trying to contest that Soldier just as much as the Soldier is trying to contest Pharah. Flutterbat will fall. It looks like they've died to their rocket. Tekriz Torb now being able to be uncontested for the most part. As long as he doesn't touch this point, those turrets can't do anything to him. Mako trying to rush in, those turrets coming in, but they're going to be taken out fairly quickly as Symmetra turrets are already set up on the point. Tekriz Torb, though, taking out 2 picks, with Please Forgive Me falling to the Sigma. Hammond Mines come out from Defenji in order to contest that point, but it's not going to be enough. Those 2 picks were not big enough for Mako to leave that point, and they will switch this point over into their favor. And now the Symmetra turrets for Mako are set up for them. However, switching off the McCree, instead of using that soldier, LaFara was definitely contesting him a little too much, it looked like. Chris Torb with yet another barrage, and looking like they're starting to hold onto that in that spawn room once again. However, it looks like Voltage is going to start pushing forward on the backside of that plane. Chris Torb coming in with this rocket barrage, going to take out an airstrike with Lucio falling shortly after. Please forgive me though, will walk away with 2 picks of his own. And looking for another onto this Sigma, trying to kill the Sarisa as well, but he is going to fall to the Sigma. With Kachoma taking out, please forgive me, and it looks like this point is going to stay in the position of Mako for the time being. However, there is somebody trying to contest from Voltage, doing what they can. Lucio looked like he was trying to do it, but was not able to really get in there. Both teams having that Symmetra ultimate, that massive wall, it will block out lots of damage. However, when it comes though, Mako does have that amplification matrix. As well as now they have the supercharger with a Valkyrie coming up very quickly. Ultimates coming out from both sides, with both Makos walking away with more picks into their favor. Both Valkyries were popped, and so were both walls, but Mako walks away with that fight in their favor, and it looks like Voltage once again is being held at those back points, not really able to push into that point. Voltage looks like they're really held up right now. Duke falling to Tekris Torb. This powerful Pharah is just a huge force in stopping Voltage from really doing anything. Damage gets right onto the point and starts trying to contest as much as he can, but Symmetra turrets are very powerful. Sound barrier comes out from Voltage in order to keep people up on the point, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough with another pick into the favor of Voltage, with Mako into the favor of Mako, when Chris Torb taking another pick with that rocket barrage and walking away with Lijiang Gardens. Mako looking like they might be able to walk away with a reverse sweep of this series. Our next map is going to be Control Center. Another map that you oftentimes see the Hammond come out, especially in those very, in those overtime moments where you need to contest that point as long as possible so your team can get back. Voltage looking like they're going to be swapping over to a more of a dive composition. They need to contest this Pharah and stop her from really pushing in. However, Tuckbriz is going to actually switch over to the Mei, as Pharah isn't as good on this map as she is on Gardens. Airsook using that new Winston skin. Very few people have gotten it, I think, but still a very nice skin to see. Running onto that Winston is going to push in right behind them. Please forgive me, we'll take the first pick of this, taking out the Symmetra of Egan. And it looks like Voltage once again is going to have the upper hand going into that point early on. Mako though is possibly going to counteract with that same level of aggression, definitely capping that point fairly quickly for Voltage. It was the same story as it was on Gardens that last time. However, this is another one of those maps that can be very easy to hold the enemy team at that spawn door. Voltage making the smart move and pulling back to that point, wanting to dive onto the enemy, onto Mako, rather than letting them push into them. Voltage, Myth already having a Primal Rage on the side of Voltage. Gonna start pushing in, dealing this damage and trying to take out that Mei, not giving the Mei much room in order to push in. Primal Rage might come out, and this Primal Rage will come out from the side of Voltage with a sound barrier coming in. The Immortality Field is going to fall, and it looks like Mako is going to be forced back with WP falling to the Winston ultimate, and Shanzi taking out the Mei. And it looks like Voltage definitely figured out what they had to do in order to push back against Mako right now. Colas coming out from the side of Mako, but it's going to be walled off and not able to do the damage that it needs to now. Winston being attacked so heavily, and Mako starting to make that push forward, taking out many picks in their favor. Hammond will fall with the mines in the wings, and it looks like Mako is going to flip this point over into their favor. 56% for Voltage so far. Kniferon running on this Orisa still, going to be able to pull two people in, and it looks like one was stunned from the rock of the Sigma. Mako being a very strong force. Brigitte coming in with the rally in order to do massive amounts and give a lot of armor to her team as they start to rush forward. Hammond Mines come out straight onto the point. It's going to catch a lot of people and do lots of damage, with Airswick coming in with that primal rage once again, causing the death of WP once more. And Voltage looks like they're going to be able to swap back over this point into their favor and return that capture objective and capture percentage taking away for them. Voltage figuring out what they were doing wrong definitely has shown that they can come back, make this massive comeback. Blizzard in the wings for Voltage right now. Switching off to that Doomfist was a very strong move for Voltage. Mako swapping off to the Doomfist herself. Blizzard coming out and is going to catch almost everybody. A counter Blizzard is going to keep some people alive, but not Tekris, who will fall to the Blizzard of Evil Flutterbat. And it looks like Voltage picks going on either side so far. And it looks like Voltage might be able to walk away though with Li Shang Control Setter. 92% on their capture percentage. Tekris Torb coming in and still being a huge force on this DPS role right now. Overtime comes into play once again for Voltage. Mako being that force on that point, having that presence is going to flip the point into their favor and force Voltage off and back to their spawn room once again. Only 51% though. Mako has a lot of time in order for this point to go in their favor and walk away with the series. Voltage just has to have one really good push, and they can force Mako off that point and away from their spawn door, in order to take that point and walk away with Control Center. Chunzi using that Coalescence once again with Airstrike, once again popping this Primal Rage, looking to try and take yet another pick, possibly onto WP. Instead, he is going to run out of that Primal Rage, but picks are falling into the favor of Voltage once again. Roadhog running with that whole hog. He is going to fall to the Meteor Strike from Please Forgive Me, and it looks like Voltage might walk away with the win in Control Center so far. Overtime starting to tick away once again, with Doomfist still being here on the point, going to help cause the death of Tekris Torb and looking to try and make those advances forward to keep this fight going into the favor of his team. Voltage doing everything they can to force Mako off the point. Mako's coming in as hard and furiously as they can, but they don't have the numbers. Hammond being the only one there, there's enough damage coming out that's going to stop him from moving forward. And that wall is also going to impede his progress in contesting this point, as the Hammond will fall right there, with Doomfist falling shortly after. Only one left on the point, it is the Lucio. Let's see if if Voltage sees him. They now see the Lucio, and they're going to start forcing him off that point. Airspike once again running onto that Winston ultimate, and will allow that point to be captured. Going to the last and final map of Lijiang Tower, we will be seeing Night Market. The score 1-1. This game is going to the final map of the final map. Very strong from both these teams, and it looks like Voltage is going to continue running the dive. Tekris switching back onto the Pharaoh. These teams running everything they can and running on their best heroes to really try and keep this fight going in their favor. It's going to be interesting to see what these teams are going to do in order to walk away with the victory in these games right now. Pharaoh going to move around the backside, getting an early advance onto what Voltage wants to do. Airspike still running on this Winston, still going to be a force, and it looks like both teams get to the point at relatively the same time, and immediately Winston is going to drop in and start dealing damage to that Immortality field, with those picks once again falling quickly into the favor of Voltage. An early capture looks like for Voltage's side, just like the last two maps. However, Voltage did lose those points fairly quickly in those past 2 maps. Voltage, I think, is definitely going to have to play a little bit more conservatively. Looks like they're going to be continuing to play on the point rather than wanting to get pushed into the spawn. Voltage starting to move back to that point once again, looking for their opportunity. Vincent jumping in, going to start dealing damage, but he is going to fall to Tekris Torb, who is also going to start dealing damage once again to the Mei, and now the Hammond. Please forgive me, falling to Kachama, the Hammond from Mako, with Egon taking out Defenji. And it looks like Mako walking away with this point, just like on Garden. Very early pushes, and easily able to take that second push. Mako holding a strong defense right now. They're going to start holding in the same position that Voltage was, and that is by going along and running with that. Running on the point. Voltage looking for their opportunity to push in. They're going to use that symmetric turret to start moving in. Tekris Torb using that rocket barrage is going to take out Please Forgive Me, but Duke will take out Tekris as well as popping the sound barrier to keep his team up with Shanzi using the coalescence as well as to pump out healing as well as doing the damage. And it looks like Voltage is going to be able to walk away with this point once again. Coming in, dealing those damage and taking out those mines. Winston is very good at doing that and stopping these pushes from really moving forward and removing the ability of the Hammond from really contesting anything. Mako starting to stagger in ever so slightly. Hammond trying to contest as much as they could. Eva Flutterbat taking the life of Tekris with the Hammond still onto the point. Baptiste using the immortality field that field is going to fall fairly fast with the Baptiste trying his best to stay alive. Airstick will take his life as well as lead to the death of the Arisa as well. And at this point, still staggering in from Mako, not wanting to give up any capture percentage. And Mako finally flips this point over, but not without giving both Mako 82% on their capture percentage. But Voltage, now with control, is going to be able to start their percentage going up ever closer to that wanted 100%. 50% now for Voltage. Mako starting to come back in now. Tekris Torb once again playing on this Pharah. We also have Egon though playing on that Symmetra. A nice try for the hook from Mako right now. And it looks like Voltage is definitely being a strong force right now. Doing what they can. Hammond Mines come out with Winston being pulled in. Blizzard though is going to come into the favor of Voltage and keeping this point in their possession with massive picks coming out from Airswick. Another team kill from Voltage in order to keep this point in their favor. 86%. It looks like it's getting closer to that 99-99 fight. 90% for Voltage. This could be the last fight of this series so far. Mako starting to come in. Coalescence coming out from the side of Voltage in order to deal that damage and keep them at bay. And the picks are falling into the favor of Voltage. Rocket Barrage coming in to try and do what it can in order to keep those points in the favor of Mako. But it's not going to be enough with Airswick taking out the Mercy and then jumping to take out that Pharah with only Roadhog left on the point. It looks like this point is going to go in favor of Voltage. Very well done from both of these teams, and congratulations to Voltage on winning that last map. A very exciting game from that, coming right to the last minute of that match, with Airswick getting a much-deserved play of the game on that massive Winston ultimate. It wasn't even the ultimate. He just was doing so much damage and doing so much for his team that he was just able to take that play of the game. However, when it comes, though, to MVPs, I have to give it to Tekris Torb as making a massive comeback for Mako on both Havana as well as Temple of Anubis. When it comes to Voltage, though, I have to give it to Airswick. That Winston definitely did it for them for Voltage in that last map for Lijiang Tower in order for them to take Control Center, as well as taking Night Market in order for Voltage to walk away with the win. But anyways, this has been the OLOC. I am for Alligatron, and I'll see you guys hopefully at 7 o'clock.